because they thought the way to make internet accessible. And so I did that thing. And one of the things that I realized is that in France, are like in many other countries, in a fairly misogynist country. So okay, you say that and you cry a lot and you're very angry and you know, it's like okay, and then there is masturbation, of course. Oh, anyway, see, I think Lego guy is downstairs. This is perfect. Anyway, you hear me anyway? Yeah. So I thought that no, don't do it. That's okay. So you know, I was kind of desperate, and I didn't want to be into the denunciation mode. I mean, I can go on to the denunciation mode forever, but you know, it's kind of boring. And so I saw this group that were starting to get together and start to think about gender representation in public space and mostly in media, and they managed, because they were very well connected, and I think this is a very important part, to get a lot of attention and public attention. So, you know, I connect to them and I say, oh, how come I don't see your PR material on the web? And they say, web, we don't know. You know, women, technology, you know. Okay, so give me your PR material, I'll put it on. Give me their PR material plus 50 emails, and I thought, oh my God, I'm not going to spam, right? So I made them a little website. And as soon as they were a little website, a lot of people start to write to their website. And of course, you know, nobody was answering. So I started to do a little mailing list. And within 2 weeks, there were like something like 20 mails a day in the mailing list, which is too many in my mailbox. So I started something that I never used to practice, which is the forum. And the forum, and all that was on a friend's server, Valentin Lacombe, who runs altam.org. And this is a very important server in France because he basically is the one that allowed access and free access and no ad access and non-commercial access to a lot of people in France. And he was a friend also, and I knew that for a Facebook group, chances were that we would be tested on technical level, right? So it was very good to have this guy like in the background that could kill at sight if necessary. And if I made me feel good. So okay, I do this little forum, and I use this very light, very basic forum that I adored because it was very simple. And you know, women often has their boyfriend's old computer, or they don't have much connection. I mean, it's not a rule, but you know, it kind of is a pattern. So so I made things very light and very simple, and also a lot of women were coming onto this site for the first time. So I had to say things like, click here. And that was a big gesture. So I do the site and everything, and it's very fine, and a lot of women are tentatively starting to write, and it's, of course, non-protected, pseudonym-free forum, which I thought was wonderful, because then instead of having a person having, you know, this discourse and you can attach it to a body, it was a logic of thoughts behind a pseudonym, and people can pick up each other's pseudonym. But I think that was too much for the group I was dealing with, and they couldn't stand, you know, having that pseudonym taken away by somebody else and being written in their name. So that was the beginning of, in fact, a very old internet story that as it grows and it becomes more popular, and it did become very popular. I mean, after a year we had something like 300, 400 posts a day. So that's a lot of people going through the site, right? As it grows, people demand more security, and you have to lock everything up. I say it's an old internet story because I don't know if you recall what Sandy Stone said in one of her books, where she said that in the 80s, there were some little Apple computer that were given school children with modem. And it was also the beginning of Community Tree, one of the first mailing lists going on. I mean, a few others, but that one was exceptional because it mixed subject matter like science fiction, like geeky things like discussion about esoteric thinking. And it was also, again, a very open system written in fourth. I don't know if some of you know this language, but it's a language in which you mix command and writing and command. So you can really mess it up real fast. And also there were not much memory, although they thought at the time that it was enormous. They thought they had 64Ks, that was like for the rest of their lives, right? And by chance, or maybe it was not a good chance, the kids found the discussion site and did kiddie things, or things that people do when they start to communicate, which is first thing, hello, hello. And that reminds you maybe of one of the Alan Capro first performance with the vocals, you know, what do you do? Hello, hello? And so, hello, hello, and people were responding, and then they start to do, you know, kid things like shit, you know, and starting to say like really nasty things, you know, the things that are forbidden to see, to test, right? So the people that were running the server, this very wonderful, perfect system, were totally desperate because, I mean, here they were like 10-year-old kids that were fucking up their wonderful system, right? And also it was a very political system in which you could not take away the stuff that was put in, or you had to stop the entire system, take away the memory, restructure the memory, jump the stuff and restart the system. It was like, you know, heavy work just to do that. So those two stories are telling me that is there hope that internet mass media could go without locks everywhere? So I don't know, that's a question for you. The story of the forum continued to the point where, you know, feminist forum has its own specificity. Like a lot of women don't dare to talk, they are very much into the listening mode, and to get them to talk you have to leave them a lot of empty space for other things to happen, otherwise they would never dare to speak. And of course the guy would go in there and tell what the truth is and what the woman should do and everything, and would like not even question themselves, you know, they would speak up. So you kind of, you know, underneath tell them just to calm down and leave the speech to everybody. I mean, it's good that there is a little provocation, because discussion, some people get angry and start to answer, but in the long term, you know. So at one point, so we did a lot more security stuff. We secured the pseudonym. We started to do a lot of monitoring, even though it was not heavy-duty censorship. It was just monitoring and everything, to the point that there are several guys that really were bugging us. And so we were dreaming of a boot that would send them the same PHP page as all the other people on the forum, but a special one for them, because that would show to themselves the message that they would put in. Like, there would be a forum for everybody and a special page for this IP number. And since a lot of the pleasure of those guys is to see themselves being written and answered to, that was. So when we reached that point, I thought, okay, that's enough. We're not going to start to play those games because this is not worth it. So I got this really because in fact, the discussion on the forum became more and more problematic, and we had big ideological discussion. Indeed, the story of, you know, gender representation in public space could be very tricky because it could lead to censorship in some ways. I mean, it's an interesting topic. It could be. So that's why I really would like to finish in 4 minutes, 36 seconds with really what agitates me lately, and it's a little bit the same idea, because it is about reality and digital life. And as I tested with this woman group, you know, the reality of our daily life and collective decoding, and the online traces of this collective decoding, I went on I proposed to ICR this little sailing project. They were doing this grand cruise on this amazing boats that they have in the Baltic Sea, you know, with 7 floors. It looked like moving building. And I have been sailing, so that's one of the things that I do. And I've been sailing with friends who are geeks, and I realized that some of them are good, but some of them really have a different mind, because it's two different mechanics. You know, when you're a geek, you write a line of code and you test it, doesn't work, you try it again, you move it a little bit, and you try and error. However, when you're sailing, this is a totally different story. I mean, trial and error, you can sink the boat, right? Basically, or hurt yourself in a big way. So, Hisea was taking place in this archipelago, which is one of the most difficult sea to navigate, because part of the water are uncharted, and they say, you know, it could be rocks anywhere. So you have to really keep some very precise route. And also, just to add a little layer, the Finnish map are not quite up to GPS grids yet. I mean, they will be next year, but not this year. And also, the real-life marker are not the same thing. That are not the same as in international waters. And we figured we will do an experiment with navigation by instrument only. And my best friend navigator, who is like the perfect boy to navigate with the GPS, just had like a family problem and got grounded in Italy. So it was, am I going to stop this experiment? So now I'm going to show this because it's kind of funny, without the sound.
Okay.
And basically, continue. Ouais, bon, bah, vous allez voir que you'll see only a few minutes. Attends, let me fast forward. What doesn't work too? Oh.
It's not working.
Oh, it's just slow. That's the story. Well, anyway, so we went onto this little boat and trying to figure out, you know, test things with Wi-Fi snuffing. We thought, you know, we're in the land of communication, Finland, we'll go and find hotspot everywhere. Forget it, no hotspot. Then we thought, okay, we are going to broadcast to the main boat, but the main boat could be broadcasted to only when it was stopped, otherwise it couldn't pick up the message. Bon, pas de problème, on continue. Then we thought, okay, we are going to do the navigation thing. So as I explained, it was, you know, a little tricky. And then when we arrived on the boat, there were not the actual maps with the GPS. So we were in. Je comprends pas pourquoi ça marchait pas ce truc.
Oh yeah.
So we were in beautiful plain blue sea of the GPS without any island, you know. And we always knew where we were, but never quite knew where we were, because the map didn't match, not enough, I would say. And we spent our entire time like, okay, now you're going to see green and red, and it's going to be behind this rock. Tell me you're seeing it. Okay, now, so those are, just to back up a bit, because it's kind of, ah mais non, attends, tu vois. Oh putain, c'est dommage d'avoir fait ça. That's the sound. There is not a thing that I can move.
No.
I should have downloaded it on the. And what is this thing that I can turn here?
I don't know. I think that's for editing it.
But anyway, it's really. This is a timeline?
You can drag the picture down into the top.
Voilà, c'est parfait ça. Browser, up.
Okay, let's just stretch that.
Ok, voilà, bon.
The yellow triangle is directly under your image.
Yeah, this?
No.
Oh, this one. Oh, okay, pardon. So, okay, so here, just to show you. So, these little dots are all the some of the lighthouse. In between, you have millions of markers. And the yellow thing that look like land is uncharted water, and the green thing is really land. So basically that's what we did. It's like navigate like crazy people throughout this thing and doing it the old way. And I should say that I had a lot of respect in the harbor because their ruler to do it with pencil and paper is not quite the same as the French ruler. So I went there and said, show me. And I hadn't done that in 10 years, so they didn't know. So they had to call friend to, you know, figure out, and then I figured out. And I did this whole geeky things by pencil and pen, but that's what a geek needs to know, which is when it fails, you always have to go back to the basic. So anyway, so that's it. How come, question, right? Any question? So anyway, so what we did is we play also with other mode of making images, like we had a balloon with helium on board and we inflated the balloon, and that took like images, like we hooked a streaming camera on it, and we checked the weight of the camera plus cable because it was too heavy for camera plus streaming material plus power, which we thought we could do, but it was not possible. And it took images from the balloon, so that gave another angle of an image highly mediated by boat, by the streaming camera, by the wind and everything. And one of the things that got the IZA people real nervous is that we say, yeah, we're going to try all those things, but you know, we don't really think that insurance, security, a sure thing is a value for us, because we depend on so many elements like the wind, like the weather, like all those things that, you know, maybe we will be able to provide images, maybe we will be able to connect, maybe we will be able to do performance, but, well, that's not really what conference people want to hear. But okay, look at this. This is one marker, this is another. Can you imagine? We went very slowly, and we took all our time to just, you know, do the thing. So that's that.
Did you chart the uncharted bits? Are you allowed to do that?
Well, you can do it for yourself. You can do it for yourself, but charted is actually a military thing.
Okay.
And you don't touch public chart like this. I mean, there is one authorized person, for example, in England, that by hand, you know, retouch the thing.
Which computer needs
no.
video? This one.